Gail and Rosemary from IFCO Pastors for Peace. Gail and Rosemary, if you're here, please come up. Where are they? Oh, here they come. Let's give them a big round of applause, folks.
Viva Cuba Libre! Brothers and sisters, we're standing on the sacred land of the Lenape people. Let's do a silence here.
I'm going to pray for
and for all of our ancestors who are guiding us and telling us to do the right thing. Let's raise our silent voices to them. Has Rosemary turned into a spiritualist or something? Absolutely not. I recognize my culture, and I will always lift up my culture as the Cuban people lift up their culture. And it's been a steadfast to how that revolution has survived. And if you know the history of Fidel, he'll tell you. He wasn't wearing those green beads and those red beads for nothing. There's rationale. And the reason behind that we as African people have to embrace our culture, our indigenous culture, and recognize it. So I'm only going to say a few words here today. As young people born in the United States of America, AMERIKKA, we are often told to salute our flag, red, white, and blue. Well, let us just say right now that red stands for the genocide bloodshed of millions of our brothers and sisters who have been victims of genocide and the economic genocide that's occurring in Cuba, because there is such a thing pursuant to international law as economic genocide. With their blasphemous promises of helping and aiding people around the world, no aid for Haiti, except to send in a force from Kenya to help to put down the people's struggles there, and we never hear about the other struggles around the world that people are engaging. But Cuba teaches us to embrace internationalism. At the midst of the hurricanes, at the midst of the energy crisis, it was the Cuban president who's giving 200 scholarships to Palestinian students to study medicine in that country. So one thing that we need to learn and that we need to take cognizance of, for those of us here in this country, we embrace the Cuban Revolution because it teaches us, and at this moment we lay our hands at the United States government of America for what happened with the power grids running down. How do you expect a country that's been under a blockade for more than 63 years to have the kind of systems that capitalism enjoys? That's the question. Meanwhile, the media in this country is talking about the failed principles of socialism with the blockade, also with the energy crisis, but they never said anything about Nigeria having a power grid broke down for almost 2 or 3 months. Nor did we hear about the power grid in some parts of Latin America. So it seems to me that this country is bent on destroying the Cuban Revolution, both in attempt from outside as well as in. And that's why we have to be vigilant, and that's why we have to be here today like this and win other people to this struggle. Unlike about 5 blocks away from here, you have a Ku Klux Klan rally going on, right? And we have to be vigilant. We have to be vigilant. And we have to build our movement across race, gender, and class. Because the Cuban Revolution teaches us. The Cuban Revolution teaches us to be humane. Because this country has no humanity. Let's keep up our struggle, brothers and sisters. Thank you, organizers, for organizing this. And I need to give a shout out to a brother that's not here. And I'm talking about a young brother who works with the People's Forum, and how in 2 days they raised more than $100,000 to send humanitarian aid to Cuba. Let's use that. Let's continue putting money into people of Cuba. And as a member of this Pastors for Peace board, I'm now going to relinquish my time to our sister Gail Walker, who's our executive director. So give her a big hand. Thank you for these wonderful, beautiful, powerful friends of Cuba that are here with us. I just wanted to take a moment to talk a little bit about our beloved Cuba. Cuba is catching hell right now. And we know that really what is behind that has been the United States, its blockade, its policies, its brutal attempt to try to dismantle this tiny island. Those of you, hands up, how many of you had an opportunity to travel to Cuba? All right, this is good. How many of you have not? All of you need to see me. You need to see our friends at VB. You need to see our friends at the D12. There's a variety of different ways for you to go. The important thing is to get there, is to be there. We know that Cuba has really been going through a lot with this severe energy crisis. It's yet another example of the U.S. blockade, a brutal policy, and its false designation of Cuba as a state sponsor of terrorism. And this isn't just about sanctions. It's about a system designed to crush the American people and to force them into submission by depriving them of their most basic needs. And by doing so, encouraging the Cuban people to abandon their government and their way of life. But make no mistake, the power outages, much of what Cuba has been forced to endure, is no accident. These are direct results of the U.S. policies that have gutted Cuba's ability to import fuel and to repair its energy grid. The 243-plus sanctions under Trump and Biden have made it nearly impossible for Cuba to keep its lights on, especially in the face of extreme heat. The Cuban people, resilient as ever, however, have tried to repair those power plants and to promote alternative energy sources. But making matters worse, despite the Cuban people's efforts, U.S. sanctions block the resources and finances that they need. The truth is that for over 60 years, the United States has tried to break the spirit of the Cuban people, to starve Cuba into submission, attacking their schools, their hospitals, their transportation systems, all to punish them for daring to dream of a different world. After years of struggling under U.S.-backed dictatorships, a world where there are people, where the people are put first, where all people, not just the Cuban people, but all people are put first. That's what Cuba represents, and that's why we're so fond of our Cuban family. In the coming weeks, thank you. In the coming weeks, the General Assembly of the United Nations will once again vote on the necessity of ending the U.S. embargo against Cuba. Every year, the world speaks out against this injustice. Historically, an overwhelming majority of nations have voted for the resolution to lift the embargo, with only the U.S. and Israel opposing. But the world knows what's right. The U.S. government continues, nonetheless, to choose policies of suffering and death over justice and peace. But we, right, this is where we come in. We, the people, particularly those here in the belly of the beast, have a different responsibility, right? Right? Would you say we agree? Right, we're here. We have a special responsibility as people of faith, as people of conscience, as people committed to peace with justice. We are called to resist systems of oppression, to fight for the dignity of all people. And we need to demonstrate our solidarity with Cuba. We need to prioritize our efforts to have Cuba removed from the unjust list of state sponsors of terrorism and to lift the deadly U.S. blockade of Cuba. In the same way that silence in the face of the annihilation of the Palestinian people is not moral, it's unjust, it's immoral. In that same way that we are being complicit in one of the greatest atrocities of our time, the same can be said about the genocide that's taking place in Cuba. I just want to just end. This is just important, so just bear with me. For us to turn away and to deny our own humanity, to participate in the cruelty of the blockade, the cruelty of the injustice taking place in Palestine, is so profound that all of us have blood on our hands. All of us have blood on our hands. And it's these horrors that are not isolated. Palestine is just one battleground in the global struggle against imperialism, where the tentacles of oppression have reached far and wide. So whether that be in Haiti, in Sudan, in Lebanon, and beyond, it's the same playbook: dehumanize and destroy. From the blockade of Cuba to the occupation of lands across the globe, every action to suppress, to starve, or silence a people feeds the machinery of the empire. And make no mistake, none of us are free while imperialism in all its forms continues to dominate. So it's our responsibility, it's our duty to share what's happening, to lift the voices of those fighting for survival. I want to end by saying the only way that we can do this is being united. We need to unite our struggle. It's not just one of us, it's all of us. And so, family, united, we will resist, and united, we will win. Let Cuba live. Drop the blockade. Free Palestine.